Who is your favorite butt of all of them? I mean, we know who that.
I mean, it's got to be DJ Reader.
He's
got to be
right.
up there. You know, it's just like give me big.
I would
Fill
love
up
to see
space.
DJ Reader in your red pants, man. They look good. Oh yeah, we're back, baby. DJ Reader tried on those red pants. They split in half. They they no longer exist.
They're
we
gone.
are going with a
Khaki
today, a darker khaki.
Darker khaki.
Right, I like it though. I do. It's a good look for you. Yeah, look at you checking yourself out in the monitor. What's up, everybody? Chris Sims Unbuttoned here. Ahmed Fareed, Chris Sims hanging out. We're gonna talk some ball. Not about big butts today. It's gonna be more about speed and aggression.
Yeah.
Right, and tackling and short area explosiveness and all that type of stuff.
Big
Linebackers
hits.
and safeties, big hits. Right. And hey, interesting discussions I think to be had about the state of those positions and where they are in today's NFL too. It's so either way, it'll be a good conversation. But what's up, man? You doing good?
Can I do this? Normally we clap at the end of the pod.
Right. You want to clap it up now?
I want to clap it up now because Chris Sims has done the impossible once again.
That's what we're clapping up. You're right. Let's clap that shit up.
He has finished looking at tape upon tape, ignoring his family for what, 2 months now?
Well, it's been a good, I guess what it is. What is it, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, really, when the process starts, right? Somewhere between 180 and 200 players, right in that range there. Basically, I was kind of like roughly counting in my head last night because it was such a relief. Like when I got done, I was literally like, oh man, you mean like tomorrow after I do the show and then do a podcast that I'm not going to have to come home and go, okay, let me sit down in my office and I got to crank out 8 or 10 guys here. Or I'm going to be in big trouble. So that's where it's great. And now I just feel good too and free to talk about the draft in totality and everything. So it's awesome.
And as Pete notes, you wake up tomorrow, you got no one to scout. It's 4:20.
Yeah.
It's like the Chris Sims day.
Oh, it is a great day. And I'm like, no joke, was thinking about calling in sick tomorrow.
Yeah.
When I got done yesterday with my thing, I was like, damn, I really haven't taken a day off in like 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Where like you were talking about, like even on Sundays, I was sitting there like, you know, have a cup of coffee with the wife. She makes me breakfast. I'd go sit at the computer to watch film, and she would bring me breakfast. So, I mean, it's been like that to where with it 4:20 on a Thursday. I know next week I'm going to do 5 days in a row. We're going to do something Thursday night. I also am going to do the Friday morning PFT show. So I was like, maybe tomorrow. I've been a little tired lately, too, because the pollen and allergies.
You have been tired.
I know.
You were sneezing before the podcast here and coughing.
Yeah, right. So I was like, maybe I'll call in sick tomorrow. We'll see. So I'm going to thank you. I'm going to think about that as the day goes on.
You're not done yet, though, because you have scouted them. You've looked at all the tape of maybe almost every guy who will be drafted this year, which is amazing. I'm going to just say this, too. No one else is doing that in this business, in this industry.
Thank you.
You know, there are some guys that are looking at the top guys, I think, and maybe some at some positions, but I would venture a guess that you have looked at more tape than almost any TV analyst out there.
Well, thank you. There's a few out there that I think beat me, but I do appreciate that. And hey, again, I'm not saying I'm always right, but I'm going to work and try, and I love it, and it's passion and all of that. Have I watched as many guys as maybe Daniel Jeremiah? No. Sure. He's way down the list, but he's an expert. Mel Kiper, they've beaten me, certainly, right? But I think after that, I can start to be like Lance Zierlein. He's another guy, NFL.com, right? He's beat me for sure. But after that, I can start to go, I might be up there after that.
Yeah, and you have your unique take, of course, and that's why everyone tunes in, and that's why we do these lists, and that's why we finish it today with 2 positions.
Yeah.
So right at the end, don't hang it up yet. Don't relax. Don't take your foot off the gas, because we have linebackers, and then we have safeties. So we'll get to safeties. That'll be our last group, and let's just get into linebackers right away here. And let's take a look back at kind of the first-round guys from the last few drafts here. Because I saw a tweet circulating out on Twitter that equated drafting a running back in the first round to the same as maybe drafting a linebacker. Maybe we're missing something, that it ain't that smart to take a linebacker high up. And there are a few that have panned out, of course. Michael Parsons, who's become more of an edge than a linebacker here, but was drafted as a linebacker.
Yes, he was.
But you do look at some of the names, you're like, probably not a first-round guy. So what do you think about that idea that maybe linebacker, you got to pump the brakes on first-round guy?
Well, I don't know if I necessarily will buy into that. We definitely have some ones on here that have worked out and are pretty good, right? You know, I know we have a list that's available. We have some notable busts or whatever else, but you know, when you talk about linebackers drafted in round 1 of the last 6 drafts, right? Last year, Quay Walker, he was a little underwhelming. Devin Lloyd, no. looked good. Micah Parsons, like you said, superstar. And he was drafted as a stand-up linebacker like you're talking about. Nobody knew how good of a pass rusher. It was just like, ooh, he can rush the passer, but he's a stand-up linebacker, right? So Zaven Collins, there's some work to be done. Yasmin Davis for the Washington, those are two that I would say, we still have a little bit of like, I'm not sure. Isaiah Simmons, the freak of nature, right? Who we all thought that this could be a possible conversation we were having with Isaiah Simmons. That was the problem with Isaiah Simmons.
Where does he fit in?
Where does he fit in? He played all these positions in college. I don't know, right? So there's that. But, Kenneth Murray, he's been pretty good. Jordan Brooks has been really good from that 2020 draft. Patrick Queen has been good, and then you get into the next draft of 2019. Before that, Devin White has really throughout his career been really good.
Yes.
Last year was a down year. Devin Bush, no, disappointment. Roquan Smith in 2018, superstar. Tremaine Edmonds, really, really damn good. Leighton Vander Esch, it's been pretty good. There's a neck and an injury history there that scares you. You got Rashawn Davis, right? Rashawn Evans, that's disappointing a little bit. Gerard Davis, same thing, disappointing, but a neck injury, I think that plays into that too. And then you have Reuben Foster to cap it off, where there was a lot of things that played into that not developing or working out.
Yeah, going over it like that, so there's certainly some busts in there, but there are some players
there's
that
more
you
than I think maybe
definitely take
that
at
tweet
that
gave
spot.
it credit for.
I agree. They would take him at that spot once again. So this is how linebacker has changed throughout the years, though, is that when I was growing up, it was Chris Spielman.
Exactly.
Neck roll.
Right.
Leader of the defense.
Right. Takes on fullbacks and smashes running backs as they come through the hole, right?
Junior Seau, leader of the defense.
That's how I grew up. Harry Carson. I mean, he was like this guy that was 265-pound middle linebacker, who could just kill anybody.
Yeah.
Like that's the era we grew up in. But it's evolving. It's different. The two positions we're talking about today are dramatically different than the era we grew up in. They are. So
what do they ask linebackers to do now?
Well, like our old school middle linebackers in that body, they don't even play middle linebacker anymore. They play defensive end. Your Byron Youngs and all these guys that we talked about as like edge linebacker, stand-up. Like that was a stand-up linebacker at one point, but now we've gone, let's just make him a defensive end. He'd be really explosive off the edge. Our old school safety has now become the linebacker, really, in a lot of ways, right? The safety now is a little bit more of it's not a traditional Jamal Adams, Derwin James type of thing. Those are rare now. Like, 220, 230, can hit and play like that. No, now we're seeing safeties 205, 195 because it's like, no. We can't just have them playing free safety the whole game. There's certain personnel sets that we're going to see in this game this week where he's going to match up and play a little man-to-man, or I might have to put him down in the box and he's going to help out in the run game, right? So it's become different that way to where you're seeing these safety is no longer Ronnie Lott, the Jamal Adams, the Derwin James, they're rare. It's now almost like nickel corner safety, strong safety. It's all been kind of mixed together.
Yeah.
It's like three positions in one almost. And it's because of the modern day offenses and the things we talk about all the time. Hey, they're in a smash mouth running set. Oh, wait, now these two tight ends, they're good in the pass game. They're split out. Oh, and the running back, McCaffrey, was in, and he's split out. We don't have enough guys to cover, so our free safety, who we want to just backpedal, no, we need them to cover somebody here, man-to-man, whatever. That's what's being, it's the versatility of offensive attacks right now, the versatility of running backs and tight ends especially, that I think has changed the receiver safety market, along with the slot receiver on offense has changed these two positions drastically.
Watching some of the highlights of these linebackers and safeties, they do look smaller.
They're
sometimes.
smaller.
You're like, wow, this guy's tiny.
Yeah.
It seems like out there. And some of them may be bigger than they appear on film, but
no, you're right. I mean, again, we're going to be talking about linebackers, or where I'd go, no, that's Jamal Adams is that size, and he's a top linebacker in the draft. Or we're going to be talking about some safeties and the stuff where I'm going to go, he looks like a corner. I mean, I wrote that down like I felt like 100 times going through the safety thing. Another guy that looks like a corner, but is playing safety or nickel or whatever else, right? So it is a different its speed and versatility is a little bit more of a thing, I think, right there when you talk about these positions.
And some people have more speed and versatility than the others.
Yes, they
and that's
do.
why we rank them.
That's
1 to
right.
5. We'll start with the linebackers. We'll get to the safeties here in a second. The linebacker group is interesting. You look at consensus out there. There's not a whole lot of guys middle of the first round, even end of the first round. It seems like these guys are more top of the second round, maybe can sneak into the first round situation. So when you saw them overall, is that your analysis of the linebacker
I think
talent?
that's fair, Ahmed. I think it is. I think when I really look at that, and again, it might lead to not the sexiest talk today because I think we got a lot of good players. I don't think there's a first rounder in the linebacker or safety group. I don't think it exists. But I think you said it right. I think there's, still doesn't mean, again, we just don't have freaks or the bona fide superstar or prototypical guy we like at the position, right? There's no like, oh, whoa, that's Roquan Smith. Oh, whoa, okay, that's a can't miss. I've seen 10 plays. Let's just move on. He's awesome. That doesn't exist, right? Same thing with the safety position. It's not there this year. I would be shocked if anybody goes in the first round. I think, like you said, it's more of it starts to get unlocked around pick 35, 40, and then we can start to see some of these guys go off the board anywhere from 35 to 85. I think you'll start to see a run at these two positions.
So what's cool is if you're a fan of any team out there in the NFL, you have a chance to maybe grab any one of these guys because they could go anywhere from end of the first to middle of the second to end of the second to top of the third. And so let's get into it. Your linebacker rankings for 2023 for the draft. You have how many guys do you have in tier 1 here?
We went 3 guys in tier 1. Yeah, there's no stand one guy like we've had at other positions where I go, no, this is clearly the guy. There's no Bijan Robinson or Jalen Carter here, right? I got a guy that's number 1, but the other 2 guys that are in this class with him too, they're in this class, and his margin of how much better he is than the other 2 is not that great for me to not put them all in the same tier here.
All in the same tier.
All in the same tier.
But they all can't be number 1.
No, they
cannot.
Your
number 1 linebacker in the year 2023 is
Daiyan Henley, Washington State, right? You know me, I do have a type, right? I am. And I love guys that can hit and are big more times than not. But, again, this is not that age in football anymore. And especially in this position. This is now really your prototypical every down middle linebacker. Daiyan Henley from Washington State, first off, has the body I love. I mean, he's just a rocked up muscle, right? Extremely explosive. And one of the first things I wrote down is this is my kind of dude right here. You can see right away there's high level twitchiness, explosiveness in the athlete, right? Plays with a reckless physical abandon that that I just think is necessary. Again, when we talk about the top linebackers in football, they all have that. I know there's some other ones that are good and whatever else, and I'm going to go, ooh, what's missing from that guy? Well, he doesn't, like Roquan Smith and Fred Warner, right? This is who I think of. They see a hole, they run through it. They don't care if the Mack truck is there or if it's little Tweety Bird. They're going through it. They're going to go through it. And, oh, wait, there's a guard coming in. I don't even hesitate. I go and smash him. And I act like I'm the guy that's 100 pounds bigger. That, to me, is what's needed at that position. And that's what this guy has. He plays with more of a, reckless physical style, downhill style that I love, right? It was the best I saw. He's a Ballhawk sideline to sideline. He can play between the tackles, too, for a smaller guy. Now, it's not perfect. Are there some plays you're going to see where he can't get off a block the way you'd like? Okay, sure. Yeah, there is some of that, right? But he does play. He can navigate through the trash, which is one like, and what I mean by that, Ahmed, is like, hey, it's like block down. Now there's a pulling guard, and he's kind of like, whoa, okay, wait, all right, wait, there's somebody tried to come up to the second level and get me. Okay, wait, now here's the guard. Oh, I can kind of get through him and still be in the hole and ready to make the tackle, right? So he can do that. He can kind of move and navigate through the blocking schemes to make the tackle, let alone can take on the blocks and do that. For 225, he's actually very good at that. I'm big into, can he shuffle down the side, sideline to sideline to stay in the gap, keep your shoulders square, right, to keep your gap integrity. I thought he was very good at that. His instincts, I found were really good. I thought he was a natural ball hawking, made for the NFL middle linebacker. I think really, again, some of the Negative plays were maybe a little too over-aggressive or not getting off blocks or going like, oh, wait, I might have been able to run through the C gap. That's where I should have got, where I should be. But I thought my speed was good enough to kind of run through the B gap and catch him. Oh, I missed him, right? But those are things, again, that's teachable. That's learnable. I didn't have a problem with that. Obviously, I like the guy, and for his size, I said he rarely gets swallowed up. He's very impressive from that standpoint. And, you talk about matching up with backers out of the backfield or slot receivers or all that. That's the other part that you got to think about with these guys, right? Middle linebackers no longer – first off, look at his freaking body, right?
He did a backflip.
He's cut out of steel. You can see it on film. And that's the way you got to be at the position. But what was the point I was going to make? Oh, the slot receiver thing. Yeah. That's a real thing. And the fact that just think about – you're playing a zone coverage, and quarters is a real thing right now in the NFL, to where teams find these ways to get, the Hunter Renfrows or the Devontae Adams one-on-one against these middle linebackers, and they have all this room to operate. Well, you can't have Spielman in the middle against that anymore. Right. You can't. Sorry, as awesome as Spielman is, that wasn't his cup of tea. You're in trouble. So that's where you need a guy that has a history of being an athlete, and he's super twitchy, and he has an incredible 10-yard split and top-end speed and all that. So that's where I really loved him. And he's still learning the position.
Sure.
So that's where I just went, no, this guy, he's a natural. He just got to keep playing it, and it'll even look more natural.
Yeah, there's a lot to go on there. Yeah. So, he does. You watch the tape, and he finds gaps. It's almost like that balance like you talked about with other positions. He has a balance and an ability to find the gaps, blitz.
Balance for sure, right? You saw that, right? Where, like, people hit him and stuff, and you're like, oh, somebody's going to block him and knock him on the ground there. And he stays through. Up and then runs and makes a tackle.
Yep, able to pursue the running back or the quarterback on a blitz.
Right. Exactly.
So, but the size, and will he be a weak side linebacker instead of a strong side? So PFF says Henley won't be a take-on linebacker at his size. He's the kind of linebacker that excels with a free runway to ball carriers.
Sure.
And he definitely does that. That pops on the tape. This is from Lance Zierlein at NFL.com, kind of mentioning what you said about sometimes he's maybe over-aggressive. With good speed and toughness, Henley's playing style can be described as more active than instinctive.
Sure. I think he's talking about like what I was talking about there with the shooting the gaps. Yes. I think he's a little bit just like he sees it and he's like, let me just go. I'm going to go get him. I can get him. I run 4.5 and I'm fast. Let me just tackle him. And it's just like, oh, no, that wasn't the time to go. Just shuffle and stay in your gap here, right? But, again, I didn't find it to be something where I was like, whoa, well, I got to drop him around. He went in the wrong gap here out of the 45 run plays. He went in the wrong gap twice. Got to drop him around. No. Come on, those are easy things to fix, no doubt about it. I don't worry about that. And I think your point to that's what he is. He's the linebacker you want to be free to just go get the guy with the ball. When I was in Tampa, we had guys like Derek Brooks. Mm-hmm. That's what he was. And just so everybody knows, Derek Brooks was like 228 pounds, 230, right around there, 6'1", 6'2", maybe. I think that 6'1", maybe 235 when he started to get a little older. So, yeah, he's going to be the 4-3 team that likes speed at linebacker, and that's where he'll deliver.
You're watching on Peacock or YouTube. His octagon is up right now. Very good in the 40-yard dash. Good 10-yard split, like you mentioned, Chris. Height, 14th percentile. Weight, 5th percentile. So he's just not that big guy, but he's physical. He's not afraid of contact.
Twitchy and explosive.
Quick, and he gets to the ball carrier.
That's right.
So he's also a pretty good dude. And he's a pretty good teammate from what we hear. So he was
at Nevada.
He was at Nevada for a couple of years. He did transfer to Washington State. I think we showed his stats there too. Really took off. A lot of tackles for losses at Washington State. Kind of blossomed into the player who now could be the first linebacker off the board. But he's a good dude. And so Pete noted that his press conferences are must-see TV.
Right.
They were at Washington State. And so he's put together a montage of your number one linebacker's best moment in press conference.
Awesome.
How would you kind of pitch yourself? Like, when you talk to these guys, and what are your main selling points that you tell them? They're like, this is what I bring to the table.
Comic relief. Ball was coming, right? Obviously ball. So first thing I was thinking was ball. Like ball. And then this is real in depth right here. Second thought was catch it. So I'm like, what happens if I don't catch it? Like my life is over. So I'm like, catch it. I'm a nice guy. Yeah, you believe me? Well, yeah, I'm lying. I talk some trash. I'm lying.
Daiyan, you look like you're in decent shape.
Decent?
Yeah.
My gosh, hide my muscles. I've been showing them for y'all. Read the shirt. Can I say read them and weep? Does that work for this? Or is that just cards? Bold.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Bold. I don't know. What does that say? Bound. Bold, bound. It was very mid. I mean, I could critique that right now, but I don't think that's... the Black Adam, I mean, I'm expecting Dwayne to just give me a better performance than what he did. No offense, Dwayne, but you could do better. You get in that meeting room, and I swear it's like a sauna. So immediately it's like I'm sweating, but I don't want to say I'm sweating because I'm not sweating because of the questions. I'm just sweating because you guys got the heat up. Is that it? I appreciate you guys. Stay beautiful.
Oh. And some of those, if you're just listening, he's like in full shoulder pads. It's just right after a game,
right,
and he's
right.
already just like into
he's like, let's go do it right now.
comedy mode.
Yeah. Hey, you got to have that kind of personality. Middle linebacker, hey, quarterback of the defense, got to be a communicator. It's usually the leader of the football team, right? The other thing, you know me, I like him. I like him with edge. I do.
Yeah.
And you see, like he alluded to there in the little press conference, he talks. It's important to him. He's emotional. And I'm big into that. I really am. It more times than not shows up on films, and that's one of the few things I can glean a little bit as a personality thing here without meeting these guys, and I think that's another part of the reason I really like the kid overall.
He's your number one linebacker. You look at the consensus, he's maybe 3 or 4, but as we mentioned before, all these guys are kind of close together.
Sure,
so.
his size is some teams they're not going to like it. They're gonna like and think he's a little small. But I think there's plenty of teams that are going to really like him. That's for sure.
Plenty of teams going to like your number 2 guy as well.
Yeah.
And he is?
Trenton Simpson, Clemson, right? Trenton Simpson, he's another guy he's a specimen. A little taller than the last guy we just talked about at 6'2", looks taller on film too. He's a little bit of a different build where you'd go like... the last guy we talked about is a little bit more of a ball of muscle. This guy's a little bit more, has a little bit of a length and, speed look to him, especially just as far as being linear that way. All right. And I think that's the first thing that jumps off about him. I mean, the speed is like
he's super fast,
right?
Yeah,
It's real.
We'll get into that,
Yeah.
but the length of him, he's kind of a high tackler too, and he comes with a lot of power right at the chest of these running backs.
He definitely does. He's not the perfect player here, but what he is there's two things: the speed and I think the size combination is what I really like more than anything. Right? Okay, I would say he's a guy that I wish was a little bit more instinctive at times. Or there's times where you go, wait, there's the hole. Just go run through it and make the tackle. You got it. Don't worry about it. Just, shoot your gun and go get the ball, right? There's some of that. There's no doubt about that. But you talk about sideline to sideline, I mean, he could be arguably the best in the draft in that. He might have that over our guy we just talked about. All right? One-on-one tackler in space, I mean, I thought he was really good in those situations. And again, that's life for a linebacker a lot of times in the NFL too. Again, we just talked about it, whether it's covering a back out of the backfield. Ooh, I got to run out in the edge. They ran a toss sweep. It's me and Christian McCaffrey one-on-one. I got to make a tackle here, right? That's part of what they got to do too, not only just taking on guards in the trash, right? But it just has a nice blend of everything. I really didn't see anything that I went, ooh, is a negative about, his game overall. I think that's the big thing I liked. Like I talked about, I wish there was a little bit more, instinctive and maybe a little bit more of a recklessness that I like as far as, what I like? He's physical, but maybe not totally crazy like I like, right? He takes on blocks. He can stand his ground. He does throw his body around. I wrote he throws it around more than some other guys we're going to talk about here later on. I don't want to give in any inklings here, but there's still, I wish, just a little bit more of that. But either way, you can see here, just if you're watching on our YouTube page, and I mean, this is a specimen of a person we're talking about, and has all the things that you need to be good in the NFL. And I think the things that aren't that good, he gets off blocks pretty well. I think are teachable teachable things. He's young, and he just got to keep playing, and he's going to get better at the feel and what's needed at that position.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he might be the best athlete of all the guys you're going to talk about here. A former 5-star recruit, played running back and linebacker back in high school in Charlotte, North Carolina. We got him clocked at a 4.43.
Yeah, right.
40, so he is fast, and Pro Football Focus says the ability is there, but the way Simpson sees the game isn't quite yet. He could benefit from a simplified role out of the gate. Taking a look at his heptagon, and we have weight in the 33rd percentile, but everything else is above average, and that 40-yard dash is in the 97th percentile.
Yeah, I mean,
he's an athlete, but he turns 22 in June, so he is younger. He is still learning the game, whereas your number one guy, Henley, he turns 24 in November.
Yeah, so. Right. And I think the what you said there, that's true. What PFF said, I think that's a fair evaluation. He doesn't have the natural ball hawking skills like the guy we just talked about, right? Where the ball was snapped and it was just like he was going to get the ball, right? This guy maybe was a little bit like, oh, wait, I got to stay in my gap. I got to be worried. And then there were some plays where he just went, go get it. It's there. Go. Don't worry about like staying in your gap still, all of that. But I still, as a whole, didn't have a problem with that. He sees the ball, even when he's taking on blocks. He knows where the ball is, all that. He's a little stiffer because of his taller, and he's wired that way to where he doesn't fight through the trash maybe the same way Daiyan Henley did, right? Not only like fight through, you know what I mean, but just being able to kind of weave through like, oh, this guy almost got me, but I got lower, so I'm still here in a good position. Oh, wait, there's another guy. Let me kind of shuffle out of his way. Okay, here comes the running back. Let me make the tackle. He's not as great in that area as even maybe some other guys that are behind him. But I'm more on to it's 6'2", it's 235, there's length, and I think he's a guy that's going to just he's going to be 242 by the start of the season. These are growing young men. They haven't even filled out all the way yet. You got to remember that too, to where that he's going to even be a bigger physical man as he goes forward here. And I just think between that and then, hey, he's pretty good at getting off blocks and things like that. It's to me was the number 2 linebacker in this draft, and the guy that I was very comfortable with it. I'm excited to see what he can do in the NFL.
A pretty effective blitzer when he was at Clemson. 13 sacks in 3 seasons when he was there. Brant Parshall has a question for you. He goes, I like Trenton Simpson as an athlete, but he struggles to take on interior O-linemen. I think he might be a better fit at safety. What is your view of Simpson at the next level?
Yeah, no, I think he's a linebacker all the way.
Gain more weight.
Yeah, well, gain more weight, who cares? I mean, 235 is plenty big for an NFL linebacker right now. We went through some teams and some rosters. There's a lot of teams that got 235, 228 at linebacker. That's not that crazy anymore.
No, as opposed to cutting weight and trying to play in the secondary. I mean, he's got the speed to play.
He's got the
something
speed,
like that. But
right. But that's now you got to get into more in-depth coverage conversation and what you can do there, right? And let me just say this: like the NFL is a little different. In college right now, right, everybody runs the spread. So the linemen are spread out too. It's very easy for linemen to get to the second level and do all that. And the NFL, there's going to be guys like, no, it's Fletcher Cox. We can't just like walk by him. We need 2 guys on him, right? There's Chris Jones there. You guys got to really block him. You can't just go, oh, we touched him and now we ran to the second level, right? It's different. There's going to be different alignments. He's going to have more talent around him. The game is not the same. Some of these plays where I look at it, and you do, and again, it's a real thing as far as what he's talking about there, right? But I think it's the college game and the way they play as well. And then sometimes it's 4 linemen or it's 3 linemen and he's the only linebacker in there, right? I mean, Clemson plays a lot of 3 down fronts, and then somebody's in a spread and the other 2 linebackers are kind of like cheated outside wide to get out by the slot receivers, and now he's there in the middle. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, whatever lineman wants to get up on him is going to be able to get up on him. There's a ton of space, right? So you got to take that into account too. That's where the game is different, and you got to be able to look at that. It's certainly not the greatest thing he does, but I specifically wrote down, gets off blocks pretty well, plays in the trash well too. It's not just a space guy. Right? I wanted to make that clear because I saw plenty to go, no, he's okay here. This is not the perfect thing in the world. But, too, what I also want to say, and see, this is where the smaller athletic guy always gets this like conversation. And I want to go, we're going to talk about some bigger guys. I'm going to say they get blocked too, but we just don't talk about it because we see 240 or 245 and we go, he's big enough. Doesn't matter. And I want to go, no, I can show you games where he's blocked more than Trenton Simpson. He can't get off of it, right? Because he's not fast enough or quick enough sometimes to even get around it. But I think it becomes a little too much of a talking point sometimes with these type of guys.
In tier 1,
Yeah.
your number 2 linebacker. We're about to go to the final guy in your tier. And
Yeah.
this is a player who is bigger than Trenton Simpson and bigger than many linebackers out there that line up on the other side of the ball. Your number 3 running back for this year is
Linebacker. We're talking about
what did I
linebackers
say?
here. Running back. It's all right.
It's been a
This
long
guy-
season. It's been a
this
long
gotta be
season.
scary at running
You know
back.
what? Maybe at the goal line, in goal line situation. Sorry,
He
I
can
gave it
do it.
away for the team that ever drafts. This linebacker is.
He could do it. Jack Campbell, Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack is, now we're talking about more of our prototypical linebackers, right?
6'5", 249.
Go through his rest of his numbers because I think they're worthy if you got him there. But,
Arm length?
go through his 40, his 10, his vertical, and his 3-cone.
His 40 is 4.65.
Right.
His 10-yard split is 1.59.
All right, so that's good. I mean,
Those are
159,
good.
again, that's better than Will Anderson, who everybody's saying is the first pick of the draft.
The vertical jump is 37.5.
Right.
We've got his decagon out there, which I always like. I like it's a big gun, as Pete says here, and I like that because that means they tested.
Yes.
They went to the combine or wherever they went. This is usually combine, right? Or it could be pro day too.
Yeah,
Did
no,
they take
but
some
I
from
think
pro day
most of
here?
these are all. This is combine for sure.
So you go there and you're like, I'm going to dominate in these, and he did. Yeah, 95th percentile in the 3-cone, 94th in the broad jump, 80. Yeah, he's wow, big dude, athletic dude.
Yes.
Why is he not number 1?
Well, and the other thing, the 6'7" 3-cone,
Yeah.
that's like insane good for that. Insane. That's like slot receiver good.
Wow.
Yeah, that's insane. And that's where, we're talking about a guy that's, we're talking athletic.
So here's a
loose,
guy.
flexible, pliable, right? This is not just some stiff meathead linebacker. I want to hit you and do that. That's not what he is. In fact, I wish there was more of that. Right? That was probably be the reason he's 3. These guys aren't always my cup of tea, but I do recognize the size of this guy and some of the things that's going to translate to the NFL that really is going to work for sure. What were you going to ask me? Sorry about it.
He almost seems like with his athletic ability and his size, like he's one of those guys that you talk about. We move these guys to edge normally.
And I don't, he might, flirt with that a little bit here, but this is, I think, because of the athleticism too. You're right. We don't see these very much. Think of he's got a Leighton Vander Esch type of look to his body, right, for the Dallas Cowboys. And Tremaine Edmonds, right? We're talking about bigger, square shoulder, long arm kind of guys. That's what he is here, right? Legs, I wish were a little thicker, but good enough. When you watch on film, the speed, the acceleration, all of that, it's all true to the combine numbers. I didn't come away going, oh, man, he's just a workout warrior. No, that's all real. Like I said, his change of direction, his hips and coverage, that's where he's going to have real value. He's a pain in the ass in coverage, right? Running, in the run game, he's good, okay? But this is why he's 3 for me. Yeah, I like psychos. I don't know what else to tell you. And not that this guy is not, I don't want this to be mixed up here. He's not soft by any stretch of the imagination. He's just not psycho, all right? And that's where I probably fall off too. Yeah, there's some plays where I go, oh, you just got to go in there and smash your head there. You got to go in there and smash that guy, And, because he's big and he's long, he's a little bit of a catcher with the hands and let me get my arms and hands on you instead of delivering the blow or taking the blow that way, okay? So that's what I want to say. I made a point to say he is not soft. I want to make that clear. But his physicality is not impressive by any means either. That's what I want. That's bottom line there. He is great in space, whether it's pass coverage, screens, anything like that. He's going to be awesome covering big tight ends in zone with his movement and stuff and his length. Man, will he be a pain in the ass? And I wrote, he's better in pass than he is in run for me. long fluid, good hips, all that, the change of direction. He's smart and instinctive. He's got a good feel for what's coming.
I was just going to ask you that because it seems like you mentioned the instincts for your first two guys.
Right.
Is Jack Campbell, because you're right. He gets back in coverage pretty well. He reads the quarterback's eyes.
Yeah.
I think there was a play in the Ohio State game where he one-handed intercepted.
Exactly right. C.J. Stroud. Right, yeah.
And so is he more instinctive than your first two guys?
I don't know. I would say, okay, the pass game for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Run game, I don't think I'm going to put him. I think Daiyan Henley is more run game instincts of just go get the ball. But this guy's not bad. His instincts are better than Trenton Simpson, no doubt about it. But yeah, there's that element of that sort of just go get the ball, or again, the guard's coming. Don't wait him to come to you and then kind of try to hold him up to hold your ground. Go deliver the blow and blow up the hole. And then there is no hole, and you can make the tackle or somebody else will. Right? Those are the things that, I just, at the end of the day, what made him number 3. I just wrote, I wish there was more downhill physicality. I've gone with the linebackers, I watched plays and a game. And I wrote, I haven't seen one impressive hit yet. Has he ever stonewalled the running back? That's what I wrote. I wrote, good player, just not my cup of tea, but he will be for somebody else, 40 to 60, right? And that's kind of where I see him, somewhere, 40 to 60, 35 to 55, somewhere in that range. I'm probably lower on him than some are, but that's just not, what I love at that position, and maybe I'm a little different that way.
You know who's not going to like your ranking?
Who's that?
People in Iowa, because he is Mr. Iowa. Cedar Falls High School, 2-time state basketball champ, and then goes to Iowa. He led all of college football in tackles in 2021 with 143.
Right.
Won the Dick Butkus Award for the nation's top linebacker, which does not factor into your rankings. You don't even look at that stuff.
I don't even care.
You may be finding this out for the first time right now. He won that award last year. And the academic Heisman as well, the William V. Campbell Award.
Hey.
So there it is right there. He's too smart to have that Sims edge that you like to see.
Exactly right. How dare you have an IQ? What are you talking about? You're a linebacker. You're not supposed to have an IQ. No, but you see all that on the field.
Yes.
You do. And again, I think, I saw like some of the stuff that's out there, highest graded linebacker and all that. And I go, yeah, I can understand that too. His assignment is never really wrong, but again, that's where grading can be different. Where I just go, wait, I know that's your assignment, but let's go above the assignment every now and then. And that's, again, where I would tell you I like the Daiyan Henleys. Yeah, A gap was my assignment. A gap. But the B gap's huge, and I see the running back going through there, so I'm going to go get him and make the tackle, right?
And who knows?
Right?
Sometimes that can be coaching, too, and the coaches beat it into his head. It's
no,
you've got your assignment.
You're right. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. But either way, this is a good player. He can do it all. He's never coming off the field. Not at all. And I see we got a question about from @Connor McGinnis, right?
Yeah, Connor McGinnis, but you kind of mentioned that this shouldn't be a problem for him. Is Jack Campbell fast enough to play in today's game? I love his size and game, but question his speed to run with tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, he can do that. And especially turn and change directions and stuff like that. Is he going to be able to necessarily run with Evan Ingram up the middle of the field if he tries to run like a 30-yard post route? Yeah. It's going to be trouble there.
Who can?
I know, exactly. That is exactly right. Who can? But no, I certainly don't. I think his value is, really big in the pass game department. Yeah, it's the run game department that I wish there was more of a physical element to.
Hearing you talk about these guys, it kind of makes it apparent why they're all together here. They all kind of do things really well, but then they have things where they're
deficient,
a little flaw,
and no doubt.
Not necessarily elite with all of them, but they're all in your tier 1. Now we drop down into tier 2 for your number 4 linebacker. As I just in my earpiece as we're doing linebackers again. Your number 4 linebacker for 2023. We're going back to Alabama. Seems like we got a lot of Alabama guys.
Yes, you're right. And do you want to? All right, Henry.
I can do it.
To'o.
Yeah, Henry To'o.
To'o. Okay. I know.
Yes.
It's one of those that's like it actually reads exactly the way it's spelled.
Yes.
But you don't want to say it that way because you're scared for whatever reason.
But once you got it down, you're going to be saying that name all the time. To'o.
To'o.
Like super
on the
confident.
tackle. To'o on the tackle.
Which you did hear a lot on the highlight tape.
Yes, you. Oh man. Well, Ballhawk linebacker here. And again, I think a guy, when you talk about like just natural instincts to go get the ball, again, he might be the leader of everybody, really.
Puts his foot in the ground really well and then, like, attacks.
Attacks, right? I mean, he really does. And, he's 6'1", he's 227. Again, for whatever reason, again, this is where the draft drives me crazy. 225, 6'1", Daiyan Henley's a problem. 6'1", 227, I don't hear anybody have a problem with the guy that's from Alabama for some reason. Just because he went to Alabama? That's all I'm saying. That's just where I'm just throwing food for thought out there. Trenton Simpson got seen getting blocked a few times. It's a problem. I don't know, linebacker from Alabama, who my biggest problem is getting off of blocks, right, at times, or, running around blocks. That doesn't get brought up. I didn't mean to go on that tangent there because there's a lot of positive to talk about this guy. I don't understand sometimes that about the whole conversation.
But he does look smaller he certainly looks smaller when you're watching Jack Campbell and you go to him next, which I did.
Definitely.
And watching this down the line
He looks smaller than Daiyan Henley in his uniform, too. He doesn't have the length, the square shoulders, or the limbs are as long, right?
There are situations, though, where, man, he is pursuing, he's blitzing, and he's throwing a lineman that's got 50 pounds on him off kilter.
Oh,
yeah.
His play strength and his pop and his hits are real deal Holyfield. I mean, he's got the style I like. You know that. Yes. I mean, it's kamikaze, it's fearless, it's everything you want there. He looks like we talked about, he looks like a big-time NFL safety. That's what he looks like, in his uniform, really. And then, twitchy as hell, ball hawk, right? Aggression, downhill, incredible acceleration. That's all good. I like 4.62. Of course, you want him to be faster, but the acceleration is a very important number for a linebacker. Oh wait, he's running in the C gap. I got to get there in a hurry before that he gets through the gap. That's really their game, right? How many times does a linebacker have to run 50 yards down the field, right? That's not so. 4.62 is punny fast. Do I wish he was a little faster? Sure, but his 10 is really good. His explosiveness is off the charts good. Yes. He's good in the box, like you said, goes and gets the ball. But he is, I will say, size is a little bit of an issue with this guy. He does run around blocks. He's got great feel, but that's going to bother some teams. Now, I want to say, too, when he runs around these blocks, he makes the tackle a lot, too. So you got to kind of live and die with that. A little bit like we talked about with Henley shooting a gap every now and then there, But, physicality, like you said, I mean, taking on blocks, whoa. Like nobody told him he's 227. He brings it, and he delivers blows like we talked about. Doesn't have the length to get off as well as you'd like. He definitely, out of the guys we're going to talk about today, I thought had the most issues of once he got locked up, he couldn't get off, right? And you'd go, oh, damn, he's 12 yards down the field now, and he still hasn't gotten off, and the play's over, right? So there is that, but, teams that value a space type of linebacker, they're going to love him. He's a really good football player, and he's instinctive to go along with it. Has a nose for the ball, and the short area explosiveness is real. That's why he's number 4. He's a 3-down linebacker, and you're going to have to deal with a few size issues here and there.
It's exactly what it looks like on tape, is that he doesn't look 4'6", because the last 2 feet between him and the running back, when he's there in striking distance, boom, he's got him by the shoelace.
No doubt.
Down.
Exactly. And you see that acceleration, so it doesn't show 4.62 because you're going, well, he never has to run the full 40. Yes. He's just running 20 a lot of the times, and that's all he needs to do.
He's been playing high-level football for a long time, went to De La Salle High School in California, played running back and linebacker there, 4-year starter in college, so started as a true freshman at Tennessee in 2019, transferred to Alabama. After a couple seasons, played there for Nick Saban. He's got a nonagon out there, so if you want to take a look at his measurables, I don't know if we've done that quite yet. But there is question whether, has he made the big play? And so his nonagon looks very strange. He's got good arm length, but some of the 20-yard shuttle stuff is below average. The broad jump is below average. 40 is a little above average. That 10-yard split is above average. There's that quickness in a phone booth. But per Pro Football Focus, he did not have a single interception or pass breakup in 878 coverage snaps at Alabama.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I think a little of the length, a little of the stiffness, and we talk about the explosiveness of the player, right? Where, Daiyan Henley could be covering a tight end up the, like, oh, he's going to run a seam route or a post route up the middle. And then if the guy makes a turn either way, he's able to open his hips and run in a very easy way, like we talk about with receivers and stuff like that, where this guy's a little bit like, oh, no, wait, I got to break down and turn my whole body and now go straight that way, right? There's not that loose fluidity to him. He's a little tightly wound, let alone he doesn't have great length. And I think in some of those situations, that's where you do get into the overall speed instead of just the explosion acceleration where you're like, oh, wait, no, he has to cover the tight end on like a 10-yard out route here. He's got to open up and actually hit another gear, to get underneath that or whatever else. And I think that would probably be, the reasons I would look at that where he maybe struggles a little in that department.
Which is why he is number 4 on your list. But the only guy in Tier 2.
Yes.
So now we go to the only man in Tier 3, although some of your Robin Hood guys are probably there as well. Your number 5 linebacker this year is?
Ivan Pace Jr. from Cincinnati, right? And, I mean, when I love you, man, because you see my list and I text it, and I know you're going to go watch the highlights a little bit.
Yeah.
He looks just a lot like To'o in the uniform, but even stumpier, right?
He does. He looks 5'10" and a half is what he's listed at here. And I was like, I wouldn't have guessed that he was maybe even that tall looking at the film.
Right.
5'10"
It looks,
and a half,
it looks
231.
stumpier than that.
It does. It does.
There's no
and maybe
doubt.
it's the Cincinnati uniform you mentioned before.
That's right. And he's thick as hell.
Yes.
I mean, he's one of those where I wrote down in my notes, I don't know if he was 231. He might have been heavier than that, playing in the season. He is like dense as dense can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll continue.
First percentile in height is what Pete tells us in my ear.
It's you don't
He's
see
number
guys.
1 in the top 1%.
Yeah, right.
Talk about
he
that
can
in America.
that.
The 1%. He's a 1%er.
And 1%er. He excuse me. He think about this guy. You think about the Denzel Perrymans of the world. I played with a guy in Tennessee, Stephen Tulloch, that was like this, where when you first see him, you go, no way. He can't play linebacker in football. But then they get out there and you go, whoa, is he explosive? And whoa, can he pack a punch and do all that? This guy can do all of that. Brings it, He's actually, I thought, a better getting off blocks than To'o. Oddly enough, even though he's even a little shorter or whatever else, right? Takes on blocks pretty good for that from that standpoint. But his ability just to go get the ball is why I couldn't leave him off the list, really. It's that. There's some things, again, that concern me about the NFL a little. Again, the size and the length and all that. But, at the end of the day, it just I've seen there's a place for guys like this in the NFL right now. And I think between his physical explosiveness, his power, he's got the great contact balance we talk about. He didn't run on the combine, but I wrote he looks like a high 4.8 type of guy with really good acceleration. He has incredible short area quickness, So there was all those things I liked. He's not going to be great covering a tight end or anything like that. That's going to be trouble.
Jump ball situations could be an issue.
No chance, like none.
Yeah.
He has to cover Darren Waller down the middle of the field. It's a completion, right? And that's why some people won't like him that way. But, man, he's just a natural football player. And then, he can play big boy football. Don't be mixed up at all here. Here's one thing I kind of wrote in my notes. Like, Nakobe Dean's measurables aren't much different than this. Do you remember him last year? Everybody was telling us he was the top linebacker in the first round linebacker. He ended up going the second round of the Eagles.
Right.
I came away just going like, what is the great difference here between him and Nakobe Dean? I wrote that. He is better at getting off blocks than his size would indicate. And like I said, it's a natural ball hawking, go get the football style of play. He probably won't be drafted as high as I would like, but he'll be that guy that like 3 weeks into training camp, they're going to go, we're starting Ivan Pace. The guy's a football player. And that's just what I feel like we're looking at here.
He was 3 years at Miami of Ohio. As a true freshman, he had 6 sacks in a game. which tied an NCAA record.
That's
So he's in
insane.
the
I
record.
saw that. I
He's
know.
in the record books.
Right.
He transferred to Cincinnati last season to play with his brother Deshaun, who also plays linebacker. So cool story, and he is just fun to watch. Lance Zierlein, you mentioned him before at NFL.com, who rivals you at looking at tape of all these players. Said, quote, he might be one of the strongest players in the 2023 draft from a pound-for-pound standpoint.
You saw it. I mean, it's like nobody told him he's that. I mean, he brings it. He brings it, and like I said, he's got some magical way that I couldn't even figure out how he was doing it. He's just so explosive that even when you thought, oh, they got him, he's not going to be able to get off this block, he could get off. And he was really good that way. Incredible overall strength. So I totally agree with Lance Zierlein there. Again, I know maybe the scouting community and the draft community, he might not be looked at as highly as I do, but I couldn't let go the ability of going to get the ball and the explosiveness of the football player. I think he'll be okay in the NFL.
Yeah, he got the recognition in college, which was cool to see. He was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, unanimous All-American last season, and in the top 5 linebackers for Chris Sims. And that does complete your top 5. So before we move on to the Robin Hoods, let's take another look at how many red jerseyed guys once again, here you go. You got
It's
red
unbelievable.
and orange. I mean, the fact that Alabama
Well,
and
Georgia and Alabama are a problem, right? And Ohio State, it's a killer.
You've had a lot of yellow too, though. Iowa, Michigan,
Yeah,
a couple
you're
times.
right.
So
Yeah, we're dabbling in the yellow a little bit, but yep. What does orange and red become before the yellow in the color wheel?
No, that's not. I was thinking about that coming in here. How we finally tried to settle it, and then I even screwed that up, and I was like, well, I'm never talking about it again. And now here it comes back to me. I threw in to ChatGPT, write me a poem about your number one guy. Yeah.
I like it.
Because, I do the poems throughout the season,
Yeah.
and I was like, I
Did
haven't
Elon
done a
Musk
poem in a
approve
while.
of this? Are you
No,
sure?
This is dangerous.
Okay,
This is dangerous. We should have taken a
right.
pause, but we're going to do it anyway. In the heart of Washington State, a star arose, Daiyan Henley, a linebacker, a force to impose. His speed and his toughness, a fire within, a rambunctious spirit destined to win. Though his instincts may falter, his actions astound. For his talent to wrap and finish knows no bound. With range so impressive, he challenges all, stepping downhill to meet the running lane's call.
Oh, hello.
Congratulations. Yeah, ChatGPT, artificial intelligence taking over our world, but adding a poem to our podcast here. So there's your top 5. Who else do you want to give some love to? Because I'm looking at the consensus rankings here, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I got one guy that's
There's
missing.
one guy that, and I hesitate to say he's number 1 because they're all kind of grouped together. But Drew Sanders from Arkansas has gotten a lot of love from people out there. He is not in your top 5.
I like him. I do. And again, it's not disrespect. The athlete's there. I like it. Now, I mean, listen, he's 2 inches taller and the same weight as Trenton Simpson. So he's skinnier, right, than Trenton Simpson. And he's definitely not as fast or as explosive as Trenton Simpson. But this is a really good athlete we're talking about. Hey, bottom line is, teams that value the pass coverage and all that, they're going to really like him. I will say I like his downhill style of football. I do. But what's missing for me? It's lack of physicality and big-time contact. He doesn't get off blocks very good. I thought there was plays where, as a one-on-one tackler, I did not think he was very good. Like, as good as he is in moving in coverage, when he had to break down one-on-one with a guy in space, I mean, he was not very good. It was just okay in that department. The physical smash mouth, I would worry about him in a game against a physical smash mouth football team. He might run through the gap if it's clean and clear. That's where I like about him. But I don't know if he's going to take on blockers the way I want or win those type of battles the way I want. Also, just I thought was a little unwilling, which I'm big into putting your body in compromising positions to make the tackle, right? Like I'm being blocked and the guy's touching me and pushing me and whatever else, but I see the running back here and he's to my left and I just got to be a kamikaze and throw my body out there and make the tackle, right? I didn't see that. Where like the other guys, I'd go, no, they just went, okay, he's going to run me over. I'm going to get killed here, but I'm going to tackle him, right? There was that. It's that stuff, Ahmed. You know me. That bothers me, right? And I think that's ultimately, where he fell off. He's going to be drafted higher than Ivan Pace Jr. I know that, right? He's going to be drafted, probably higher than Henry To'oTo'o. But I don't necessarily think that means he's going to be an better NFL linebacker. That's for sure. So he's someone that's going to go in the mid-second, I think. But yeah, just not my style, that guy. He's a little bit more of a pass game space linebacker, and there's just not enough of a smash mouth attitude in his game for me.
Still liked him enough to put him in your Robin Hood section, along with one other player from Auburn, Owen Pappoe.
Yeah, Owen Pappoe is the guy, if you told me a guy that nobody is he's not on anybody's lists, but we could be 2 years from now going, whoa, this Owen Pappoe guy might be one of the best linebackers in football. Yeah, he's got to be a chance to that because he's a freak. He's a freak athlete. I mean, his speed is off the charts good. He is physical and has that careless, reckless, tackling that I like, right? He can move side to side. He takes on blocks pretty well. Never goes down. Great contacts balance. He's disciplined, too disciplined. And this is where I left him off. He's got to just go get the ball every now and then. He's just got to be more instinctive and have a feel for what's coming. There's nothing physically he can't do. He's just not there as a player yet altogether. Hasn't put it there altogether. He's got incredible strength, incredible speed, right? He's got all the tools there. Mm-hmm. It's just got to play, got to have a better feel, got to have better instincts overall. He goes too many periods of the game where you go, where are you? You're too good not to be popping up. Where are you? And that's why he's not on the list.
4.3940.
Listen, he opens up every now and then. You go, oh my gosh, is that the fastest guy in the world? I mean, he can fly.
Did everyone else stop running? We got one question here from Just Be Godly before we move on to safeties.
Yep.
Chris said on the Edge Rankings podcast that Will Anderson might end up playing stand-up linebacker in the NFL. Where might he stack up against some of the top linebacker prospects?
He'd be one for sure. This group, yeah, there's no doubt about it. Will can do all the things that we talk about or question or whatever. That's great. That's where I'm just pushing back on the Will Anderson thing. Everyone's first pick of the draft, first defensive player. That goes to superstar D tackles or edge rushers. That's all I'm saying is he's not that. That's all. I think he's going to be a really good football player. And I do think, there's a lot of value with him as a stand-up linebacker, and I will not be shocked to see him dabbling in that for a certain football team.
Ooh, if you're coaching a team and the GM drafts Will Anderson, are you playing him at linebacker?
Well, I'm thinking about it. We're going to go into training camp, and he's going to do both. We're going to see both and just see which one he's best at, or can he do both? Is he a stand-up linebacker on first and second down, and on third down we want to bring a third safety in with Isaiah Simmons in the middle, we're the Cardinals or somebody like that, right? And now we want to put him at D end and all that. Yeah, I could see that going on with him.
All right, so that closes the book on linebackers.
Bye, linebackers.
And we have one more position group.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is safeties. So how do you before we get into these players, how do you evaluate safeties now? Has it changed, like the linebacker position? You said the linebacker position has changed, and you mentioned a little bit about safety, but how significantly has it changed over the last few years?
It's just that it's safeties now, other than maybe just a few defenses in football. Free safety, strong safety, it doesn't really matter. You got to be able to do both for the most part, right? A lot of them go, no, you got to get down there over the slot and be a nickel at times and certain things. There's things this team does this week with the run game or even the wide receiver screen game. We'd like you down there in that area, right? So that's what you got to look at too. And then, I think maybe coverage comes into play more than it used to as well. I don't remember watching Jamal Adams, 6 or 7 years ago going, well, let me make sure he covers, slot receivers okay. That wasn't really a thing. It was just man, he's at the line of scrimmage. He's explosive. Look at him tackle. Hey, top 10 pick. Let's go, right? Now there is more factors, and I think the way teams are playing and viewing the position, the nickel slot and all of that stuff comes into play here. And for this year in this class, like I said, there's no traditional guy. They all are different. I mean, we have some guys are go strong safety nickel, free safety nickel, really just a nickel. I think when it's all said and done. So we got a little bit of all that. And like I said, I don't think there's a guy that's really a first-round pick in this draft.
So speaking of first-round picks, let's take a look at the last 6 drafts. Not as many first-rounders as at the linebacker position, but we did have a few first-rounders last year in Kyle Hamilton, Daxton Hill, Lewis Seen, who you liked all those guys.
I liked all those
draft.
guys for sure. Yeah, Lewis Seen, I liked him. I was glad to see him go in the first because he was the kamikaze from last year that I liked.
Yeah.
Darnell Savage has not worked out. Jonathan Abram did not work out for the Raiders. So 19, those 2 safeties, right? Minka, he was one of those guys really that is what we're talking about here. What is he, a nickel, a slot, a corner? But I don't know what he is, right?
Yeah.
And, of course, they found the right spot for him. He's really a strong safety, free safety, true to that way. Derwin James there, he's, again, those are supermen. I mean, they're talking about the best 2 safeties in football maybe. Terrell Edmonds, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
He's a specimen. He has the look. He has all the tools. He's just not the player, but that's why he was overdrafted. And then Jamal Adams, Malik Hooker, and Jabril Peppers, which, Hooker had the bad injury. Peppers was, I always thought, overdrafted and all hype coming out of Michigan. And Adams has an injury history with, Adams and Derwin James they're Hall of Fame talents at the safety position.
Right.
It's just, can they stay healthy?
Minka Fitzpatrick, you said before.
And so is Minka, I should say him too.
The Steelers figured it out with him. They're like, let's just play him at safety here.
Right.
And is it evolving that way? Is safety becoming a position where you can take a guy who it doesn't necessarily work out at corner or move him to safety? Are you drafting specifically for safety if you're an NFL team, or are you trying to just get as many bad dudes at the corner position and then maybe move one of them to safety?
I think it's you are drafting specifically for safety. I do think the corner thing and what you're talking about is a thought. Definitely. Then it just has to go into, okay, can he tackle, right? Some of the corners that we watch in the draft who are great at coverage, I just go, he'll never be able to play safety just because of some of the physical things he'll be asked to do.
Interesting.
He's not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But there are a few that you see that cross over, and like Jalen Ramsey, like we're talking about, we're seeing that. It's happening in front of our eyes right now in the NFL. He's playing safety and nickel positions and getting a little older, lost a step, so he doesn't play outside corner all the time as much anymore, right? But yeah, I still think it's, some teams are still very much into the traditional. We're going to have a traditional safety and and Steelers are really like that. And then they go, no, our nickel corner is going to be a corner. They're not going to have maybe like a team like the 49ers where they might go, no, Jimmy Ward's our safety and he's our nickel. It depends on the formation and how you do it, but he does both because they want that kind of guy, right? Well, no, they're a little different that way, and that's where, this can be a fun conversation.
That's why it's fascinating when you hear where players are on different teams' boards, and some of it's not about the player. It's about the system that team plays,
exactly
what
right.
they value.
What they expect at that position.
At these 2 positions especially. But we're talking safeties.
Yep.
And we're going the multi-tier system once again. We only have 2 tiers here. You've got a couple guys in tier 1, and you got the rest of the guys in tier number 2. So just like the linebacker position, these guys are not separating themselves all too much.
Nope.
But you do have 2 guys in tier number 1. Your number 1 safety in the 2023 draft class is?
I'm going with Jartavius Quan Martin, a.k.a. they call him Quan on the streets,
They
okay?
do.
So I will call him Quan.
Yeah, and on the field, too.
Mama
Yeah.
named him Jartavius. We're going to call him Quan, okay?
Yeah.
But first off,
Happy birthday. It's his birthday today.
oh, it's happy birthday.
He just turned
I knew
23.
It. Welcome. You're Chris Sims Unbuttoned, Ahmed Fareed, top safety in the draft. Happy birthday. That's my gift to you.
Oh.
You have to come on the podcast next week for free as long as I'm on.
It was on Monday, Pete says. Belated,
Oh, you
but
screwed
still.
it up. Okay,
Sorry.
fine. Sorry. All right. All
Close,
right.
though. Close.
We're close. He's still getting a birthday gift from us. First off, why didn't anybody tell me that the Fighting Illini have a bunch of psychos in their secondary that I was going to love? I mean, what? If I knew that, I would have been the biggest Fighting Illini fan this year. I mean, it's just another dude along the same lines of Devin Witherspoon. Now, it's not Devin Witherspoon, don't get me wrong, right? But the mentality, the play, oh my gosh, right? And this guy here, this is where he's rare, okay? Free safety, for sure. I can be a high-level free safety. I'm not sure he can't be a high-level nickel guy too. You know, again, some of these college teams, this is what they do. It's like, oh, this formation, oh, hey, you got to go down there and cover the slot. I know we only got 2 safeties in, but you got to cover them. Man-to-man, get on there, man-to-man. So you get to see them in those type of situations. He's got very good coverage skills. I mean, amazing cover skills. The only thing he's missing as far as like he'd be in the top corner convo is just pure top-end like speed, right? Where you'd go, oh, maybe 6 gear isn't quite there. Like when you see them running down a open field, like a running back running down the sideline, you can see what 6 gear looks like because Devin Witherspoon's running, and you go, oh, there's 6 gear, right? This guy's got 5.5, but not 6. But again, he's super short area, fast and explosive. His 10 is 147.
Yes.
So that tells you how he can come out of a break and do all of that, right? So for a safety, he has elite cover skills, let alone I'm not sure he's not an awesome, nickel slot, right? A guy that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that's who I kind of compared him to a degree. Yeah, safety, yeah, get down here, nickel, he can cover slot receivers and do all that. And then, damn, if they run the toss sweep or an edge run, he will go in and throw his body around like a psycho. And that's what he does. So that's where I loved him. He got great range in the back end, turns and runs with ease, has great feet, good hips. They put him in some tough spots. I mean, it tells you how talented they are because, I mean, they make him man up some receivers where you're like, whoa, this is tough. But he is more than willing to take on the challenge, has that attitude I love, right? Mm-hmm. Can really accelerate out of the back pedal and come downhill even as a free safety and be a presence in the run game in a flash. He's going to be a smaller defense type of guy that I think, a team like the Colts, the 49ers, I could see them liking him. The Seattle scheme, the Colts, Gus Bradley, he's on the edge nickel, he's free safety, he's kind of doing all that stuff, but man, he's a player. He will be a great free safety. He's going to be an awesome nickel too. His nickel cover skills are really good. There's only one guy we're going to talk about in this class that has better nickel cover skills than this guy coming up in a little while. But yeah, as you could tell, I'm super, super pumped about this kid.
I want to emphasize again how athletic he is. And I think we have his nonagon for that. He had the best 10-yard split in broad jump of any safety at the combine this year. The highest vertical jump of any position. The highest vertical of any position. What was it? 44 inches.
That's through your legs dunking stuff. That's what that is. At 5'11".
5'11", he's dunking easy.
He definitely is. I mean, yes.
So his athleticism unquestioned. Now, NFL.com, your guy Lance over there says about him, buttery smooth hip swivel, as you mentioned.
Right.
Looks awesome, but has just average route recognition. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he sees that. I don't. As a free safety, man, I felt like he had great feel for what was coming along.
Well, he had 15 forced incompletions last season, which, according to Pro Football Focus, tied for 6th most among Power 5 defensive backs.
So, I mean, like those two comments you just make conflict each other
from
two different
right. That's what I'm here for. I'm
right.
throwing stuff. I'm just throwing stuff at you and seeing how you handle it.
It just tells you this is the world they're in there. Free safety, I mean, first off, he hits and he's there as soon as guys catch the ball a lot to where I was like, whoa, I mean, he has a great feel for the game. Is he talking about the route recognition maybe when he's in the slot? And there's some plays he gets beat there.
Maybe.
Yeah, Ahmed, he gets beat there. But Ahmed, he's playing in the slot sometimes where it's like there's no help, there's nothing anywhere. It's just like, hey, you're in the middle of the field against a guy that runs 4.4. Cover him everywhere. Oh, he caught a pass on you. Negative grade. How dare you? Like, come on, that's insane. He's not going to be – we didn't say he's Deion Sanders. I mean, I don't even know if Deion can cover in some of the situations he's put in. So I did not see that at all.
Yeah,
I did not. I think this is a guy that's incredibly instinctive. Like I said, it could be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He could be Mike Hilton, right? Who's this awesome slot for the Cincinnati Bengals, slot cover guy. That's really where I'm looking at. And man, I love your measurables you just talked about, right? The loose hips, the explosion, all that. You see the explosion, the hitting, and you can just see it even in the breakdown and tackling. It's just so here and weave through this guy, and I got to turn and run. I mean, it's flawless. I love him.
And he delivers blows. He's not just trying to tackle.
He brings it.
He
wouldn't be #1 if he didn't bring it. You know that. This is why I love Illinois. They got another psycho we're going to talk about in a minute. They just bring it and come. They don't even think twice about it.
So here's why I think you have an advantage sometimes on this is because you're digging into this tape now for the first time. The chatter on him hasn't been one of the top guys or one of the top safeties. And Pete, I think we have, and Kristen back there, the mock draft database, which I always go to all the time. I think it's a great way to get where the consensus is on some of these players. You look back in December, he was not even on mock draft radar. I mean, we're talking undrafted guy. This is not a guy we're going to draft. And then you get into the end of January until now. You just see it if you're watching on Peacock and YouTube. It creeps up from like, oh, now he's like a end of the draft pick. And now it's like, oh, hold on, wait a second. Is he third, second round guy here? And he's creeping up there because he's right now, according to the mock drafts out there, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th consensus safety, but I think the community's just been a little late on him.
Yeah, I would agree. The tools are there for a big time player. The attitude is there, the physicality is there, the versatility is there, right? So, to me, it's best safety in the draft. Like I said, with that nickel back, ability as well. And I wrote 45 to 65, right? I wrote somewhere in that range. That's the way I kind of looked at it, and I'm super excited. He's definitely one of my man crushes at the draft.
Your definite man crush of the draft is
still Devin Witherspoon,
defensive secondary of Illinois with Devin Witherspoon, with Quan Martin, and your number 2 safety.
Yes, right. That's damn right.
Are you serious?
Woo,
are you really going to do it? Are you really going to do it?
Can Illinois invite me to their school this year and have some fun? I mean, come on. Sidney Brown, Illinois, right? Number 30 on your roster for the Illinois Fighting Illini, the brother of Chase Brown, which I didn't know until I started watching. I saw Brown and then I went, damn, his body looks exactly the same as the other Brown. Are they related? And then I, looked it up. And
who was in your
top five running backs, right?
So here, if you're watching now, here are the wow, they are identical.
Yes, they are.
The hairstyle, even with the man bun on top there.
Yep.
So it's Sidney on the left.
Yep, he's a little taller, right? Because I think Chase was like 5'9", and now you see Sidney here at 5'10".
Let's see. So let's see the measurables here because I think we have that. Oh, and there's Chase on the right, Sidney on the left. So what? Yeah, Sidney, the safety, is a half an inch taller.
Right.
2 pounds heavier. His arm length is half an inch longer. Hand size is 1/4 of an inch bigger. But he was a little slower. All that extra body weighed him down 0.05 of a second.
Seriously, right. They're both awesome. I love watching these guys, right? And this guy, I wrote down that he's built just like his brother, which a hard-hitting, explosive running back, right? Really good all around, twitchy, explosive. I mean, extremely sudden, just like his brother. Packs a punch when he hits you, takes on blocks, can just go get the ball. He's one of those again, too. He's a natural. He's got a nose for the football, and he can do whatever you want. This is a guy that, like the other guy who maybe has a little strong safety versatility in Quan Martin. It's really nickel and free safety, like I said. This is a guy could definitely do strong safety. There's more of a physicality, strength element to where if he was in the box, like I said, with taking blockers on, he's going to be fine there. Now, if you had to play him at nickel and do all that too, he's going to be pretty damn fine there too. I mean, again, his numbers in the combine are kind of, they're not as good as the guy we just talked about, but they're damn good. 4.47, 1.5, 110, 40-inch vertical, 10-10 broad. I mean, that's real deal. And it's a style of football, that I love. But, it just the run game element, the coverage, he's got good range as a free safety in the back end if he wants to do that. As a nickel, he's got very good hips. Both those guys got put in that situation a lot where they had to cover the slot receiver man-to-man and go, or a tight end or whatever. And, man, they're impressive there. I mean, they could play there, period, let alone they have the versatility of the, normal safety stuff that we talk about. Play strength is off the charts good. I mean, you see it in the run game. And then, even with like bigger receivers, when he got matched up with them in the slot or a bigger tight end, he's got great contact strength. When they try to push off him or whatever else, he's just so stout and strong, it doesn't affect him there. That's why he's my second guy. I wrote down Antoine Winfield Jr. That's what I wrote down. Now, he's not as good as Antoine Winfield Jr., but it's not that far like removed from that. It's not. And it's another guy that I really think it's in that same type of range of 45 to 65, just like I said with Quan Martin, and somewhere around there. I think that's where he goes. But, man, I really like this player.
You mentioned his play strength.
Yeah.
He has strength. Bench press, broad jump, vertical jump. So the athletic ability, too, were all above the 90th percentile for a safety. And watching the tape, he just has a knack, or did at Illinois, of making the big play. It was like when a big play would happen, he would often be in the middle of it. And sometimes you wonder, okay, just right place, right time. You don't want to over-evaluate a guy that just was there when a fumble happened.
No,
he picks
the
it up and
instincts
takes
are there.
But that's it.
Yeah.
He put himself in a
Yeah, he
position
did.
to be
He did.
making that big play.
He's got a feel for the game and what's happening and how he's being attacked and whatever else, let alone he's a super aggressive tackler, and because he's so explosive out of breaks. And then, again, why I love the Fighting Illini football guys is they're all psycho, not only with their physicality, but when you watch their attitude. They are pissed if they give up anything. 5-yard completion, they're pissed.
Yeah.
Right? You know me. I like that. And then, of course, they have the reckless abandon of not caring about their body that I think is very important at that position.
Yeah.
Man, Lovie Smith. What? Woo! He didn't even get to coach the damn guys he recruited down there. He got all these freaks from Florida and whatever else, and he didn't even get to coach them. And this is the Lovie Smith factor. He had the eye to get these guys there in that school.
I mean, there was probably a time last year where it was like, man, I need some of those guys from Illinois here.
Seriously.
With me in
Can
Houston.
I get Devon Weatherspoon here, please?
Pro Football Focus did note that he has missed 15% or more tackle attempts every year of his career. Did you see some missed tackles for him?
Definitely. Because he's a kamikaze.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he doesn't come down always and break down and go like, I'm just going to tackle you here, right? He's seeing you, no, you're over there. I'm coming down. I'm going to make you the 5-yard loss. I'm not going to wait for you to come to me to get the 4-yard gain. So, yeah, within some of that, he misses a tackle. But it ain't because he ain't a good tackler. He's scared. I could tell you that much.
You already like Sidney Brown. Let's hear from him.
All right.
And see if you like him even more after talking about his versatility and his approach on the football field.
Kind of noting for myself, obviously, I'm a confident, versatile player. I can play in the box. I've got a natural flow for the line games in front of me, like GT, GY, whatever run concepts you're going to throw at me. I can play in the post. I can play deep half. I can play curl flat. Whatever you need, I can do. And just kind of relying that with confidence. And, I trust my instincts. I kind of take without regret. I kind of live by this thing. Is like I think, therefore I miss. So I don't think. I just go.
There you go. See, he just said it. Yeah, I missed it because I just go. And he said it right too. Damn, he read my scouting report. He can do everything.
Yeah.
So, I think the teams that are looking for the traditional safety, they're going to like him more than the guy maybe that I talked about as my number one. The teams that are looking for a little bit more of the coverage-based safety that way, they're going to like Quan Martin. But, yeah, I love this dude. I love both those dudes. They're Chris Sims' style of play right there.
They're both in tier number one for you, and that closes the book on tier number one,
Bye.
which may be a little bit of a surprise to people out there who know this position, because there is one name, Brian Branch from Alabama, that I think most people have as the number one safety.
Yeah.
Think that maybe he can squeak into the first round, middle end of the first round.
Right.
But he was not in your tier one. As we go to tier two, your number 3 safety is
Brian Branch from Alabama, who I like. I do. I don't want that to be mistaken here. I understand he's kind of the consensus number one guy. Let me just say this right off the bat, right? Comparing him to the other two guys. He's not as explosive as those other two guys. He's not as physically or the tackler those two guys are, okay? Nor is his speed or his 10-yard split as good as those two guys. So there's a few things right off the bat to challenge everybody's consensus right there, all right? Now, this guy's good. He's skinny, right? It's like very skinny. 6 foot, 190. I mean, again, he's one of these guys that I wrote down. Looks like a big-time NFL cornerback, not a safety type. Yeah. And here's a guy that I think his real value, it's free safety and nickel, but I think it might be really just nickel more than anything, right? And again, he can play free safety. I know that. But what I would say, too, with free safety as compared to the other two guys, one, they can cover more ground and have better range. Two, they have better explosion to start that range even quicker. And three, their explosion and acceleration lets them get downhill involved in the run game quicker than this guy would, too, at a traditional safety position, right? So that's why he's not in their tier to me. Now, when it comes to pure coverage in the slot, you talk about a guy that jitterbugs, that's made for, the Jalen Waddle, Hunter Renfrow underneath. I'm going to catch an 8-yard pass from the inch. Man, he's as good as it gets in that department. His feet, his ability to plant his foot in the ground and just driving the ball. I mean, it's as good as any corner in the draft. It's amazing. But his speed is less than. I mean, his speed is, anybody that challenges him vertically, he's in trouble. So he can't be a first-round pick because of that. 190, right? He's tough. He is fearless. Let me just say that too. But he's not as physically gifted or quite the hitter the other two guys were. I'm going to say that. Especially not Sidney Brown. Yeah. Quan Martin brought it fearlessly and recklessly too, but he was, not the biggest guy to deck people all the time. So, I love that. It's just that, the acceleration, it's good, but doesn't pop at you. The speed is as advertised. It's right around 4.6, right? But his feet in and out of transition are absolutely phenomenal. Out of back pedal or any type of break, I mean, it is the most efficient footwork you have ever seen. To where you stop the tape and you're like, whoa, man, did he really just 1 foot plant and go and do that? That's where he's really impressive, and I think ultimately that's why he's going to be a big-time nickel, more than anything, with free safety value to do the things like we just saw right there.
Nickel is basically what he did at Alabama.
That's right.
And if you look at some of these rankings, some of them evaluate him as a corner.
Right.
Yeah, nickel guy.
He could never play outside corner. So that's why I couldn't put him in the corner conversation. And like I told you with everybody else, I had 3 people I kind of called throughout the process, and they said they were kind of evaluating him as a safety and nickel, so that's where I let him. But there's no way he could play outside corner and then be able to match up with Jamar Chase, right? Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't jam him or just run back from the snap, Jamar Chase is going to run by him every time. So that's where I think the safety, and that's why he was doing that middle of the field drill at the Alabama Pro Day.
Good tackler. So we talked about the missed tackles for the previous player. Per Pro Football Focus, just 4 missed tackles in 174 career attempts. And you watch his highlight film, and I liked it. It was enjoyable to watch him.
You see it.
He does have anticipation. Seems like he's got a quick first step at times.
Very much.
Want to deliver the hits. He does look smaller out there,
right?
But he doesn't play smaller.
Exactly right.
He's
tough. He brings it.
You can see why people would have him as the number 1 guy.
I agreed. And you see some of those plays where he's blitzing off the edge, right? He's a blur. And for 190, he's certainly fearless, which I love.
Yeah, but it was a lot of the. You're right. It was a lot of the run game stuff, blitzing stuff, kind of like that. Than the coverage stuff.
Then the coverage maybe, or in the box, just making a big hit.
Yeah,
right. Or that way, you didn't see that. You didn't see, like you did the other 2 guys. You just saw guys coming over the middle and getting crushed as they're catching the ball. That's not what he is. Yeah. Right. So he's not that kind of wired, explosive type of guy. At least as the muscle density. I really ended up writing down. Hey, LaMarcus Joyner, Xavier McKinney-ish, right? Bryce Callahan, who's been one of the better slots in football over the last few years. That's really what he is, right? And I think his value is going to be free safety and his ability to cover those jitterbug slot type of receivers.
All right, so he is leading off tier 2 for you, but also in the conversation in this tier, your number 4 safety, a rival at Georgia. And that player is?
Christopher Smith from Georgia. 5'11", 192, ran a 4.62, 156, right?
4.62 is not great, 26th percentile.
That's right, and this is part of the reason why he is where he is. You see that? Hey, safety, top-end speed's a thing. Why? Why do you think I think top-end speed's a thing? That's safety. I'm putting you on the spot. I know.
Because it's like, oh, crap moments where you have to, like, get the guy who's 30 yards down the field.
Exactly, right? You got to be the save the play guy.
Yeah.
I got to save this from going for an 80-yard touchdown and make it a 40-yard gain with my great speed to run the guy down, right? And again, that's where I go into the other two guys. You can watch games, almost every game, and they stop. That should have been a 70-yard play, and it was a 40-yard play because of them. So I put value in that too. Your ability to hawk people, all right, he's missing that. You certainly can see that, right? He does not have sixth gear, Now, like, the acceleration part looks better than his 1.56. And it's weird, okay? This is where he's weird to me. All right. And I like this guy a lot because he, again, has kind of the attitude he has the attitude that the Illinois kid has, right? It's reckless. I don't care. Nobody told me I'm 192. I play like I'm 292, right? He has everything except elite top end speed, and I really think his acceleration is better than what his 40 time was. I mean, when he comes down hill or puts his foot in the ground to drive on the ball out of a back pedal, I mean, it's like crazy good. I mean, so that's where, you do love him in that area, right? He's funny in that, and where I was going with is just that if he's coming forward or coming out of a break, the acceleration is good. But for whatever reason, if he's in a stop, like, oh, we're going to break down, and now you're going to try to run around the edge on me, I don't know. His speed didn't look that good there. He can never tackle the guy. He can never take off the same way he could take off if he was kind of on the move already. And that's what I kind of came to. It's like, if he's on the move a little, he's explosive or whatever else. From a dead start, it's not quite the same. All right? So that's why he's number 4 here and all of that. But, this is another guy that I think is more of the free safety nickel type, right? And a run tackling nickel that you want him there for, like, oh, this team throws a lot of bubble screens and wide receiver screens and they get to the back on the edge. But I don't know if you're going to trust them to, like, oh, it's 3rd and 12 and now we want you to be the nickel and cover some really awesome slot receiver.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that. That's when you got to put him back at free safety, right? So that's the reason I got him, at number 4.
So this is interesting because you're actually maybe higher on him than some other people out there, because I'll just say that he's not a consensus top 5 guy. And the way you talk about him, you don't love him either, but you like him over guys like, Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M,
not
or
even
J.L.
close.
Skinner out of Boise State.
Definitely.
Or Jordan Battle out of Alabama.
Yeah, this guy, those guys, they have like athletic issues that concern me and other things that concern me. Yeah, I wish this guy was a little bigger and a little faster, but one, he's at Georgia, so he's physical and crazy and brings it, because we haven't seen one that comes out of there that isn't yet, right? He has awesome read and recognition skills. When he sees the play, kind of just like the first 2 guys, he's got a great feel to just show up, and he shows up a lot. And he sees the play, and he just goes, I know this play. I saw it on film all week. I'm going, right? And so there's no hesitation in that way. So, and then, of course, he's just tough as hell. You could tell how important it is to him. The competition, it pops off the screen with him, But, yeah, when it gets to that 3rd down thing, yeah, the straight line guys, the guys that can really run, he can't run with them. That's where he needs to go back to free safety. But his short area quicks, twitch, they're pretty damn good. Outstanding tackler and has the attitude I like.
Your number 4 safety, and now it is time for Mr. Irrelevant, the final man ranked in the Chris Sims 2023 draft rankings.
Jay Ward, LSU, right? He's a very similar to the guy we just talked about, okay? Except there's more coverage ability here, and Chris Smith had more run game ability, okay? Now, this guy, he's not, maybe this guy's a little bit, it's like in the tackling physical sense, more like our guy from Alabama. It's not huge hits. He's not going to blow you up, but it's still, he brings it. And for a skinnier guy, you could see he ain't afraid to tackle or do anything like that, right? And he's another guy that kind of looks like a corner, right? But, man, downhill, in a hurry. Just like Chris Smith, the read and reacts are really good, which again maybe makes their acceleration look a little bit better than it is. But either way, that's what it is. They know how to come down and diagnose a play and go, I'm going to get the ball. He is physical. He brings it. He has no fear, right? Doesn't always wrap up, but true ball hawk, always around the ball. And then he has good loose hips to turn and run as a safety. He's amazing. I said at the time I wrote, I want to see a little bit more in man-to-man. But, what I came down to is just probably, best as a free safety. In nickel is good versus the run or in zone coverages. I don't think he has the twitch and the quicks to match up against slot receivers, right? So he's not good in the short area stuff. But, if you was in, hey, we want you to play nickel, we want you to jam the guy, and then, drop to an area and then kind of diagnose the play, his length and hips and all that, he's going to be really good at that type of stuff, right? But I don't want him covering anybody man-to-man that way. I don't think he's made for that. Long, fluid, instinctive player who's got good acceleration straight away. He is a little bit of a long strider, but he's a good physical tackler, free safety, nickel only in zone or stop the run, no man-to-man. A true free safety really is what I wrote. And then I wrote kind of 60 to 80, 55 to 75 type of guy.
He moved around a little bit at LSU, corner, safety, played both in 2022, listed as a corner on some draft boards.
It's the same thing. You can't play outside corner because there's just not enough speed, right? And that's where I can't make him a corner. Because like we were just talking about, if he has to cover like Jalen, a real speed guy, Jalen Wild, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, he's not going to be able to ever cover that guy outside on the edge. Never.
Pro Football Focus said playing around the ball as much as he did really exposed his size and tackling issues. His weight was in the 2nd percentile, although his arm length, 81st percentile.
Yeah.
He's super long arms.
He's not bad at playing in the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he bounces off guys when he hits them? Sure. And he uses his shoulder a little. Okay, but it ain't because he's scared or I still, again, I like it. He's 188. He's going to bounce off some running backs every now and then in the NFL. But damn, he's a really good player.
And we got yellow into the rankings because you got to do that. You always got to have one yellow guy. You got to have one yellow guy, and you got a couple red guys, and you got the Illinois guys where if they're wearing
a little orange and blue, but
I think we've put them here. Kristen and Morgan have put them in a blue here because we just got to get away from the orange and red. It's just too much of it.
Yes.
That we can do there. So that's it. That closes the book on all of your rankings on safety here, but we do want to give a special shout-out. You got one guy in the Robin Hood category, and he played at Penn State, and his name is Ji'Ayir Brown.
That's right. And I do want to, a guy that this is a true strong safety type, okay? That's what he is. Free safety too, right? If I could just paint a picture a little bit like, a poor man's Budda Baker. And what I mean by that is just an unbelievable tackler, brings it. I mean, really brings it. No fear at all. Maybe the biggest hitter out of anybody there was in the safety position, right? But again, the real speed is a problem, but very comfortable playing in the box. I mean, takes on blocks really well, gets off blocks really well. A little bit like the last guy I talked about, straight away, not good, but breaking down, change of direction, one-on-one tackle, awesome. I mean, he's awesome. And he will stick his face in there and anybody. I even wrote down, he had a play against the Minnesota Gophers. Running back had a full head of steam, right? You're a safety. You got to save the day. You got to put your pride away. A real tough safety would go, yeah, I'm tough. We all know that, but I'm probably going to get run over here. He goes, okay. He's kind of getting blocked, right? Running back full speed. He puts his body up. Okay, I got to stand on the tracks. I got to hope he just trips over me as he runs me over, right? Yeah. He does it. I love that stuff. That's what you got to do in the NFL. Or you're going to see running backs running 60 yards all the time, right? So that's where I really liked it. He was one of those at first that didn't impress me, but the more I watched, the more I like, because of his strength and toughness is really what got me more than anything.
All right, we may create some waves, little mini waves, with Brian Branch not being your top safety out here, and that's what the poem says too. In the realm of NFL prospects, a tale unfolds of fearless safeties and stories untold. From the heart of Alabama, a branch did grow, yet Chris Sims sees him as number 3. You know, 2 warriors from Illinois, fierce and grand, Quan Martin and Sidney Brown. Take a stand. Their skill and might, Sims dares to compare to the Alabama star in a draft affair.
I like it. That was amazing.
It's amazing.
That
isn't
is
it?
amazing. It's just, maybe we do need to pump the brakes on AI. I
We
don't know.
won't be doing this. We won't be doing this podcast in a year. That's for sure.
They're going to do it for us. We know the thoughts of Chris Sims, and he likes these psycho guys, and we're going to rank them.
Exactly. So that's it, Chris. Take a deep breath.
Thank you very much. It does feel good.
We'll do a mock draft coming up on Monday, I think,
Yep.
right, too? And so still draft talk to happen, and Thursday is the draft, of course. But before we leave, one more piece of news we got to get your opinion on.
Yeah.
Because this is a quarterback news in the NFL with the 49ers, your favorite team outside of the New York Giants.
That's right.
The report is that the 49ers are fielding trade calls on Trey Lance. So this is Ian Rappaport. That says, quote, sources, the 49ers have received inquiries from several teams looking into a potential trade for former number 3 pick quarterback Trey Lance. The conversations have been the result of San Francisco fielding the calls, not making them, with teams aware that Brock Purdy is likely the future starter. While no trade is imminent, and the 49ers would almost certainly want to make sure Brock Purdy's rehab continues to go as smoothly as it has been going, the interest from other teams in Lance has been there. So what's your first reaction to hearing Ian's report?
I'm not shocked. I mean, I really thought I said at the Super Bowl to people in Matt Mayako in San Francisco that I think trading Trey Lance could be a thing this offseason. Not because I knew anything or because I know Trey Lance, just because of the optics around the situation lent itself to us thinking that. Like, okay, they got their guy. They like him. You know, by all due accounts, it seems like, you know, it just hasn't worked with Trey Lance. There's questions, or, you know, maybe it's one of those things where, again, it's like we talk about sometimes. He just needs a new start, there's been too much pressure and conversation around him from the get-go there. That's tough to overcome. So I'm not surprised to hear this. When they signed Sam Darnold, I really thought, well, they signed Sam Darnold to be the backup for Brock Purdy. That's really what I thought of. And, yeah, I'm sure he'll battle it out with Trey Lance and whatever else. But at the very least, they know, wait, Sam Darnold's played. He knows how to play, and we're safe there. And then hopefully Trey can come along. But I'm not surprised that we're hearing this. And, again, he was in a draft where there was other teams that liked him. So, yeah, does, you know, a team that has a need at that position, what would they give up? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be any high draft pick. It's going to be a mid-round pick at the very best. And, yeah, you're taking a little risk, right? You're losing another quarterback, so now you only have Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Which way I think if they traded Trey Lance, they'd have to sign probably another veteran guy, or maybe they draft a guy later rounds.
I mean, it says that they got to make sure that Brock Purdy is doing okay. I mean, you have heard some reports out there. Maybe this will be a longer injury for Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Who knows when he can come back?
I don't know when they're going to know that. Like,
exactly.
You know, that's what I would have questioned.
How do you make a move unless you're confident that, like you mentioned, you can sign another veteran and that Sam Darnold is good enough early on?
That would be my 2 cents. You know, I know Shanahan likes Sam Darnold coming out in the draft. I do know that. You know, I think he said that even when he was talking to the owners. I think it's a guy that he believes in a little bit. I think he's a little bit of a guy that he's been in some really messed up situations. This is the best situation he's been in, and I think I can get the best out of him. So we'll see where it goes. But I don't know. When it's all said and done, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm not shocked to hear teams calling about him.
So let me throw this one at you.
Yeah.
You got a couple quarterbacks from that draft class that have had trouble sticking with their current teams, perhaps. So you call up the New York Jets. You go, hey, that Zach Wilson guy who you've soured on. You know, we've got Trey Lance, who we've soured on.
Yeah.
Let's just, swap 1 for 1. Failed quarterback prospect for failed quarterback prospect.
Listen, I think there's less questions about Zach Wilson than there is Trey Lance. So that'd be the first thing I'd say.
Like the Jets might not want to do that.
I mean, a little. I'd have a little questions about that. And then hey, I'm not Kyle Shanahan. I can't devise this crazy offense to make Trey Lance work, right? So that's where I don't see it. And Zach Wilson, despite what people up here in New York think, people still look at that and go, it was a messed up situation. I think I could work with that guy. I have a chance with him. I think he's still viewed as that in the NFL. And I think that's why the Jets would probably be scared to trade him, because they'd go, well, we've seen a few things in practice and a few things in the game that it could be scary if we trade him. I think they want him to work and develop that way.
Kyle in San Francisco makes
exactly
him look like a Hall of
There's
Famer in year one.
Well, that too. But when I hear the Trey Lance thing, I think the biggest thing I think of two teams right away. Always heard Atlanta was hot on him coming out in the draft, and then Rand Carthon, who left the 49ers front office to become the GM of the Tennessee Titans, right? He was there in San Fran. I don't know if he was the part of the contingent that liked Trey Lance or not, but I obviously do think about his name.
You know what, I do give the 49ers a lot of credit on, and they've done this for years since Kyle's been there and John Lynch has been there, is that they're okay to
they don't double down. That's right.
They're like, we spent two first-round picks on him.
Yeah.
We saw it with Trey Sermon. It was a high pick for a running back, and it was just like, you know what, we messed up.
Yeah.
And he's not what we thought he was, and we're going to move on.
That's right. That's where I love them for that too. I think it's New England-y that way. That's where New England is too. New England, they hit a certain point, they're like, I don't care how much money we gave them and where we drafted them. It ain't going to work. We got to move on. Don't worry about, we're going to get made fun of in the newspaper tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what? The next day everybody will forget and we'll move on with life. And I think a lot of teams get themselves in trouble because of the politics and the propaganda and how it's going to look, and they hang on to a guy or a few guys or whatever else because they don't want it to get bad press.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, you didn't get bad press, but your team's bad next year and now you're fired. So that's bad.
Yeah.
Instead of just taking the bad press for a few days and then making your team better.
Well, so the hard part is that for some coaches and GMs are going to get fired either way. It's
exactly right.
The only way you're not going to get fired is if you figure out a way to make it work with that player, right? And so I think it's why it's like you talk about the stability of a team, and when they gave Kyle a 5-year deal or whatever 6-year deal when he came over there, that's why that stuff's important.
Yes.
Because then it
lets him
emboldens.
work.
You're gonna miss on guys. There's gonna be busts. It's gonna happen to everyone. And so if you've got some security in your job, you can quickly move on.
You can't win in that conversation anyways. I go to the gym and people tell me about Joe Douglas all the time. Oh, Zach Wilson. Who's the other one? Who's the other first rounder that they always bring? Oh, Mekhi Becton, right? Who's actually awesome, just can't stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but how many draft picks are we gonna waste? Right? That's what I hear. And I'm gonna go, I don't know. I just see one of the best rosters in football, but sure, those two were not great picks. Great. But what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And it's constant with that crap. So you can't win no matter what, to your point almost.
All right,
we did it.
That's it.
It was almost 2 hours, but it wasn't.
We did it. You
did.
180 players. 200,
You're
whatever
my
it is.
beacon. You're my support guy. You're my homie. You're my buddy. You send me nice, encouraging text messages a lot. So you're always. We did do it.
We did.
Positive. We did. Yeah. You kept it positive. All right, everybody. You know where to find us. Monday. Yep. We'll do mock drafts. I'm sure Ahmed will have some creative angle to bring to the table as well on Monday.
Have to.
A mock draft. And then subscribe, rate, review. And we got a full week next week. All draft stuff all week. We got it all going on. You know where to find us. Subscribe, rate, review. Ahmed, you the man. Thanks for driving the ship. Peace out, homies. Have a good weekend. Enjoy 420. Now I have to decide whether I want to come to work tomorrow. Puff, puff, give, mofo. See ya. Clap it up. Yo, thanks for watching, homies. It's the off season, but there's no off season for us here at Unbuttoned. Me, Ahmed Fareed, we're going to hit all the stories. So hit subscribe for us, okay? We got a ton coming up. My draft prospect rankings, my Sims top 40 quarterback countdown, and videos of me and NFL QBs playing catch and talking about their development and mechanics. Again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. See you soon.